I'm going to show you how to paint with little supplies so that you can paint in small spaces and quickly. I got this little set somewhere and I'm not going to use it for our demo because I think you need a few more colors. So what I am going to use is this mini watercolor set I put together out of mainly recycled materials. So it's a small cigar box that you can find at your local smoke shop, buy them empty. You have your artist's tissue, which is really toilet paper. That goes behind it to act as a palette. I have these little charts that I made that I refer to because I'm going to show you how to paint a small painting with only 8 colors. You don't need every color in the rainbow. To paint, you can get a lot of different colors, and my chart shows it here. You can get all kinds of different color results with different amounts of these 8 different colors. And then I also have a chart on all different things you can do with these colors with sap green to get all kinds of different greens. So today I am going to show you how to paint this little still life in this little book that I got. It's Stonehenge aqua cold pressed watercolor paper made by Legion, and my friend Anne gave it to me. She bought it in an art supply store, and it's the perfect size for my little box. And yesterday I tried it out, and I'll show you yesterday's painting. And it was, I think, successful. So I've decided to do a demo and show you how I did it today. If you look at my demo, the flower has drooped slightly, but I kind of like the composition it made, so I'm going to show you how to do that, how to paint it with just a limited amount of colors. So in my box, I have permanent rose, lemon yellow, sap green, ultramarine blue, cerulean blue, phthalo blue, yellow ochre, and burnt sienna. And I have 2 small brushes. This is my favorite little travel brush, which fits really nicely in there. And then you could have a small watercolor cup, but I'm just using a bigger one because I'm at home. So how I would start this painting is I mixed up some lavender for yesterday's painting, and I used it for the shadows. So I think I'm going to do the shadows first because they may change if the light changes here in my studio. So there's a shadow going out this way in the cast by this little pitcher that's holding the flower. Shadows are usually darkest at the point of the object, and then they usually get lighter out toward the far end of the shadow. So you could achieve that by later softening the edge or adding more paint closer to the object later. Here we go. I've just let some be there. Then this tomato is casting a shadow. It should be darkest. I'm going to mix up some more paint, which is of this lavender paint, which is a combination of ultramarine blue and permanent rose. Okay, got the same color. And then I'm going to start it darker by the side of the tomato. This brush has a good point, so I'm just going to put it this way. And I'm holding the brush pretty far back because I'm using this easel. And I'm just sort of guiding it to paint in these areas. And then I'm going to paint around my dog. And then there's a shadow under him. And then it goes there, and it goes there. And then I'm going to add a little water because this is going to fade out. It's going to get lighter as it recedes. So there's the dark. And I may have to make it a little dark here so there's a harmony. I might go back now while I have this make this a little darker, see if it'll blend in. So there I've got that. And so I've got my shadow in, I can darken it later. Then there's also a shadow on the white picture, and I think that I'll do that just with plain blue, not with any lavender. And the secret to painting a shadow on a white object is to just do a portion and leave a lot of the white. So I'm just going to paint a little of the blue, and it goes around this. I'm going to kind of make it go under there. I'm pulling it down so it'll go down here, and it goes behind the dog. It's a little bit, it's lighter blue here, and it's blue here and down here. So got a little bit on my flower, but that'll be okay. And I might put a tiny bit more just to make it a little bluer here. And now that it's wet, it kind of floats in. I don't want to get it on the dog. There we go. Okay, so there is the shadow, and then there's a shadow underneath the picture's arm of the picture, so we'll put that in. Okay, and you know what else we could do is there's a shadow on the tomato, so let's put it in light blue, and then we'll paint the red on top of it, and that'll kind of create the shadow for us there. Even that's good. And this may drip here, so I'm going to mop it up with a damp brush so it doesn't drip. Okay, so now I've got that. Ooh, then I've got my sap green. I'm going to paint the leaves of the flower sap green. I'm going to paint it kind of watery sap green. So I'm going to use the tip of the brush and just place it here and then push it down a little bit to get the fatter bit of the leaf, and then I'll pull it up again to do the thin part. Here, I'll put it there on the stem, and then I'm going to leave it a little bit and leave a little white area around it because I don't want it to, the shadow's still wet. And then I believe there's another shadow here. I mean, there's another leaf here. Okay, so I've got the start of the shadow there. While that's wet, I might put in a little yellow because the sun seems to be hitting it a little. It should be, there's two sources of light in here, but it should be coming this way. So maybe I'll drop some yellow onto the green while it's still wet, just to make it have some more vibrant color and up here. Okay, then I can go to the dog. So the dog, we don't have black in my little mini palette, so you could mix a black by using purple, and you could use the sap green, and you can get quite a, here's the blue, and we'll make more purple because we'll need a little more. Here's kind of a deep purple, and we may need a little more, and then we're going to put a little bit of sap green in it, and that can get an almost black if you get it right. Now it's just a dark, very dark green. Let's put a little more blue in it and see if that turns it that turns it blue. Then we're going to put a little more red in it, and there it should turn black pretty soon. There we go. Ah, now it turned purple. Oh. Okay, so I'm going to put a little more green in. You may have to change. There we go. There's the black. You said it couldn't be done. Okay, so then I'm going to paint the dog black, and I'm going to do it with lines because there's a little bit of white in between it, and I'm going to just leave some white showing, maybe a little bit, and he's got a black, and then I'm going to make an uneven edge, put that there, use this, here's his tail, it's kind of, and there, his tail. I can always go back and fix it later, add more. Then there's some dark here behind his head, and he's got dark ears, dark ear, dark ear. And he's got a dark nose. I don't know. I may touch this and see if it's dry. I may do that later. But I think I'll make his eye right while I'm in the neighborhood. Okay. Maybe I'll try his nose. If it bleeds, I'll show you how to fix it. So there's just like a little triangle nose. Then we'll come back and we'll see if this is dry. I believe it's almost dry. So we'll mix up permanent rose and yellow and try to make a very yellow orange. This is the mixture from yesterday, and it's pretty good. It's not quite as bright as if you'd used a yellow-orange premix, but it'll work for our purposes. And so we will put on a really yellow version of that first on these, and just kind of form the leaves by pulling up. Some of them have angled edges, little sharp edges, and some of them have more rounded edges. So, and you don't have to paint it perfectly. We've got some of those in there. And then maybe I'll come back and just put some straight yellow there, if I can get some clean yellow on top or next to them. I'll put, even though I haven't drawn them in, I think I could fake it with a few more strokes. And I'll put maybe one more here. So that's, now I've got two colors there, and I've got my flower almost done. I might come back now and put a little more green where it's darker. So you can put more green here. Now that this blue is almost dry, I'll paint the stem. I'll maybe go over it all one more time, a few more times. This one maybe I'll put a line and another line. This one I'll make darker in some places. I won't paint all over the first color. Then you're probably wondering about the tomato. Is the blue dry yet? Let's take the green and mix it with the blue to get a very dark green. And let's do the tomato stem. It's not dark enough, but it's there. Okay, and then we're going to take the permanent rose and mix it with the orange we already had to get kind of a red orange. And since we already have the shadows down, we're just going to try to paint this right on top of the shadows. So we're going to try to go around it. And then we're going to try to leave one highlight. I could have put that in with a white crayon or masked it, but so I'm going to leave two little white shadows there. And then it's kind of darker over here. And I'm going to make it a little darker here. There we go. It looks okay. Maybe make it a little darker where it's touching his nose, where that blue was underneath it. There we go. Okay, so that's essentially the basics. Then to make some shadows on the dog, you could use that same shadow you used on the pot because he's white. So he's got some shadows, and I think I do these in, again, little lines, but curve them. So wherever you see the shadows, the back of his leg was a little darker. It's darker down here. This leg is darker than this one. This one's kind of dark over here. And the side of this leg is darker, and the side of that leg is darker. You can always go back in with your pencil later. Then for inside the pot, you might even put a tiny bit of burnt sienna, mix it in with your ultramarine blue, and you can get a very dark blue if you have enough blue in the mixture. There we go. Okay, so we could use that for inside here, and I think what I might do inside the little picture, I think I might take it off here, turn it upside down because I've got the darkest part, and paint it upside down so it comes, the most paint goes here, this paint goes here, we go back and forth, You have to just sort of hold your breath. And then about here, you kind of rinse off your brush, and then you'd have a brush with just a little bit of water and try to guide up this so it gets a little lighter, but it's still, whoops, kind of the blue. That doesn't work. You can always do it again when it dries, cover it. But right now you can see I've got most of the painting done. I can go back and give it more layers, but you've got the general idea. Maybe I would do just one more thing before I let you go. I would use that same watery blue and do the shadow underneath the deckled edge of my paper here. So it looks like it's on the paper. And there's a little deckled edge here if you want to. So there's a little cast shadow. You could do that if you wanted to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Then I would go ahead. And then when you're finished with your painting, like you can use this kind of painting. You can do this kind of painting and close it right up, because even if it's wet, you can just let the painting dry on the back of the former page, or you can hold it. You could take your artist tissue now, clean up your palette so it doesn't drip into the other thing before you leave. You can do this in restaurants, in parks, on picnics, in wineries, anywhere you find yourself, because this small size of palette and this small size of painting can be done very quickly, and it can be done anywhere because there's nothing much to carry. So then I'm closing it up, putting it away, and I'm ready to go to my next painting situation. It's really easy to make your own mini palette out of an Altoids tin. I can put the links below where to get the materials and how to do it. Then if you'd like to buy my charts so you see exactly what colors I used, how to mix them, how to make the greens, you can get them at my website, which is Barbara Roth Anywhere Art, for a small fee. So I think it would be a lot of fun for you to put together one of these little palettes, and then you can paint anywhere, anytime.